Hi, and welcome to the St. Louis School Library in Review mini conference. I'm so glad that you can join us today. We've got a great morning of 5 sessions, so I hope you'll tune into all of them. I am Shannon Steimel, Future Ready Librarian from Live for Life Academy, and I'm your host today. I also have a special guest host that I will let introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I am JP Prez. I serve the Fox School District in Arnold, Missouri as the Instructional Technology Coordinator. You might think it's a little weird for just an ed tech guy to be co-hosting a library year in review event, but one of the hats I wear here in Fox is that I am the facilitator of the Library Media Specialist Professional Learning Community. So I facilitate their PD. We don't really have a lead librarian or a library chair, so I do some of that work with them, and I kind of serve as a liaison between the librarians and central office and run their PLC and help with their PD needs.
Great.
You can connect with me on Twitter at jpprez and check me out at jpprez.com.
And we are also using the hashtag PDBytes this morning for our meeting. That is the name of my YouTube channel where these videos will be uploaded after this morning. So I'd like to introduce our first special guest of today, and that is Kelly Oliva, and I will let her introduce herself and what she does.
Well, hey everybody. Is it okay, Shannon, for me to go ahead and start sharing my screen?
Yeah, I'll have to stop sharing mine. So why don't you just, for now, introduce yourself?
Okay. So I'm Kelly Oliva. I'm the librarian at Liberty High School in the Wentzville School District. And this is my 5th year in the position. I also have worked as an elementary and a middle school librarian and an English teacher. So I've been around the block. I've been around for a while. And I was very fortunate to be chosen as a 2018 METC Spotlight Educator this year. It was an amazing honor. And I got really sick at conference and only presented 1 out of 2 times. So Shannon was so kind to ask me to present my second session here today. So I'm excited to share my information with you guys.
Yeah, so unfortunately it'll be a little bit of a short version compared to probably what you were planning to share, but we're so pleased to have our Midwest Education Technology Conference Spotlight Librarian for 2018 here to share with us. And if you want to catch Kelly's other presentation that she did do, it was actually recorded, and I have the session link for you on our PDBytes page that you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that Kelly can share hers.
Excellent. All right. Okay, guys, so I went ahead and shared, of course, there's the link there if you'd like to access it, but I know, Shannon, you'll probably post that as well at the end here. So I introduced myself, but I want you guys to know a little bit more about our school here in Wentzville if you're not familiar with our district. Liberty High School is the newest of our high schools. So we opened in 2013, and at this point we have 1,340 students, and we serve grades 9 through 12. But we were in a really unique situation when we opened because we only served 9th grade our first year. So we only had like 325 students. We were so teeny tiny, we didn't even use the upstairs part of our building. We also started with Chromebooks. So we were one-to-one from the beginning, which was, as a librarian, just a wonderful experience because all of our teachers from the get-go knew that our students would have Chromebooks. So there was no convincing or saying, come on guys, come with me, let's incorporate tech into our lessons. They were so willing to do that from the beginning because everybody had a Chromebook. I'm also blessed to have an amazing aide, which I know is sometimes unusual in this day and age. So she makes it very possible for me to do a lot of what I do because I'm not tied to my desk trying to check kids out all the time. So I'm very fortunate to have her. So one of the things that we did when we started Liberty, when we opened the building, was that we only had 2 English teachers at the time, and I approached both of them and said, would you be willing to give up some time in your schedule every other week and bring your students down to the library so that I can do some sort of lesson with them? And those 2 teachers agreed, and so as we added English teachers to our school, that was already part of the culture. And so these other teachers just knew it was an expectation to come down and have that relationship with me and to share their students with me. So that's been such a blessing because it means I see our students very regularly. They're very familiar with the sorts of programs that we offer. And just, it's wonderful to have that working relationship with those English teachers. So that's allowed me to do a lot of the things that I've done as a librarian in Liberty. So moving on, I promised that I would talk about today some things that I borrowed, adapted, and then some things that I felt were kind of innovative. So one of the things that I borrowed is actually from another METC Spotlight educator named Josh Howard. So last summer, I stumbled on Josh's website, and he works for the Fulton School District, and he had tried tech badging with his staff in Fulton. And I was totally in love with the whole concept. And I thought it would be a great idea to incorporate into our school to challenge our teachers to really take that step to the next level and incorporate more technology into their lessons and also be rewarded for the technology that they were using. So I pretty much stole everything that Josh offered to me, kind of took my own spin on things, and I'll show some of that to you guys today. But I want to give him full credit for sharing his idea with me and really giving me the basis for this whole concept. So I use something called Credly to create my badges. And let me just kind of talk about how that works to start. So Credly is a free website where you can go on and create the badge up here in the right corner for Class Kick. Credly allows you to choose from a variety of different shapes, add colors, add logos, and as you are, it's a free service to use, and you can customize as much as you want. So I'll show you my existing credits in here. Badges that I've created, and it's a totally free service that you can use. So you decide, what you want your badge to look like exactly. So if you go in here at the top and you go to create new credit, you can customize, and then like I say, these are the different shapes. You can add images in here, you can change the color, you can change, of course, what everything says. So it's a really easy platform to use to actually build your badges. So once I had those badges actually created, let's go back here. I went ahead and created a website for my teachers. So I'm gonna link to that here. So this is my badging website, and I introduced this whole badging concept to my staff at the beginning of the school year. So at one of our back to school meetings, my principal gave me about 15-20 minutes to kind of celebrate some of the things our teachers had done with the library the year before. And then I rolled out this whole concept and said, get excited. This is kind of like if you were a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, you earn those badges while you were in those programs. This is the adult version. This is what you get to do. So I separated the badges into digital creation, assessment, communication, and other. And I didn't start with all of these at the beginning of the school year. So I added as I went, and I actually asked teachers to share some suggestions for badges that I could add as well. And so the concept is, if you want more information about any of these badges, then you just click on the information, click on the badge itself, and it gives you kind of an intro to what the technology tool is, how you can use it in your classroom. And then there is a slideshow here that walks you through step by step to show you how the tool actually works if you're not familiar with it. So the other part of this is at the bottom that there is an evidence sheet. So when you click on the evidence sheet, it asks you to provide some information about how you actually use that tech tool in your classroom. Typically you have to share a couple of samples of student work. So this is really important. I wanted the badges to be something teachers earned by incorporating that technology in their classroom, not just teachers using the technology, but actually using it for instruction. So they have to share those samples of student work. And then of course they hit submit at the end. So when I'm in my drive here and I go to, let's see, I'm gonna go under badging, and I've actually shared all of these files with you guys if you're interested. I use just a Google Sheet here to actually track which teachers have earned badges. So of course, all of those evidence sheets in the Google form get sent to my email address, and maybe once a month or twice a month, I'll kind of assess who's earned which badges and add them to this sheet, and I separate by semester. So the incentive for teachers this year was they could choose between having a paid sub for the day so that they could collaborate or do whatever it was that they wanted to do, or they could have $50 in Amazon classroom supplies. So if they were the winning teacher, they could choose between those two options. I had 2 teachers that actually tied and ended up with 13 badges apiece, which was really exciting. I didn't expect them to get that many. And I, of course, awarded them both. They both got a prize. So what I do with them, in addition to, of course, keeping track of that, is the teachers have their own badging chart that they hang outside of their door. So I give them an actual physical printed badge so that they can put this on their chart and kind of show other teachers that they're earning these badges. And of course, it becomes more competitive in that aspect as well. And they also get another badge to put on their computer or wherever else they want to put it, so that it doesn't just have to stay on their badging chart. They can kind of show off in another aspect if they want to. So again, I've shared all of this information with you guys through my presentation. So if you're curious about which sort of labels I use, or if you just want to take everything that I have and make it your own, it's all there for you. You're welcome to incorporate any of that into your own library if you're interested. So files are all linked down there at the bottom. So Shannon, what questions do you have about this? Or JP, what questions?
So all right, first of all, Kelly, this is absolutely awesome. You know, we've been kind of starting the conversation about what this type of badgified learning might look like in Fox. So 2 questions. The first one is, how did you fund the prizes?
Yep. So we are really fortunate in the library, of course. We still charge fines for overdue books. And I explained to our students that we use those fines to provide opportunities for them and for our teachers. So I have a supply budget. I'll sometimes pull money from that, but a lot of it comes from the fines that we charge the kids. So I use our library budget to make that happen. But I will say, if you don't have that available to you, I mean, there's other things you could do. If you were available to actually go in and sub in that teacher's class for the day, then of course that's not going to cost you anything. Or is your principal willing to pay for a sub for a day, or have someone else in the building cover it? I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do that wouldn't necessarily be that expensive.
And you got some awesome principal buy-in because it was a zero-cost initiative, right?
Exactly, yes. And just the fact that my principal gave me that time at that really hectic beginning of the year meeting to actually explain how this works, I feel like that was such a blessing as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, one thing I talk about with our library team is that support and kind of positioning yourself as a lead learner in the building and getting, you know, lobbying to get 5, 10, 15 minutes to that faculty meeting time so you can share some, you know, share some of the things you know and kind of show staff how you are a resource and how this, you know, $1 million small business that you're running can be used by the whole school. So I have one other question for you, Kelly, and it's kind of about the whole badging system. And like when I look at systems like this, I think, you know, I look at this and then I start thinking back to Twitter, how when we all first started on Twitter, and I've been doing this for, I think, 8-9 years now, it was all ed tech, right? And Twitter has grown past, it's just a bunch of techie folks who are out here talking to, we're learning about literacy, we're learning about library, we're learning about math even. So do you see kind of the badging? I think that, you know, badging around ed tech is a really logical place for it to start because it's the techies who are like, hey, I can figure out how to make this. Do you see this growing to other learning initiatives or PD initiatives in your building or in Wentzville?
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of our other librarians, a middle school librarian in my district, was just talking about it in terms of having teachers earn badges for learning how specific library resources work. And we've talked at the district level or at the building level about having other badges that are beyond just tech. So things that some of our teachers could earn that are based on our PD initiative for the year. So it's absolutely possible it could translate to something else. And, you know, I've had that thought too. I'm kind of stuck on what to do with badging for next year, because I have all these teachers that have earned these badges. You know, if they're teaching the same lessons next year, are we going to go ahead and award them badges that they would have necessarily earned the previous year? Or do we morph it into something that involves some other components that aren't necessarily ed tech? So there's definitely that question for next year and what it will look like.
Absolutely. Like, I just really see it, and I don't want to steal your thunder too much, but I just really see that value in using that badging system as a holistic approach for incentivizing professional learning. You know, whether you're looking at Kagan structures or creating high quality units or whatever the case may be, I just see that as a great holistic incentive.
And
Yeah.
I'll mention too that some of our teachers have mentioned just that having the website with the badges on there, maybe they're not necessarily even interested in earning the badges, but if they have a question about how to teach a concept to their students, they just like having the website even be available to them so they can go through and learn about this different tech. So that's been helpful as well.
So Kelly, I love the way that you stole this idea and ran with it. I think it's a great example of being a future-ready librarian in that you're leading from the library with, you know, things beyond just the scope of the library. And also, I think the badges allows you to work at your own time and pace. So for those librarians that are like, you know, I don't have time in my day to offer PD sessions, this would be a great solution to that. And it really personalizes the learning for the teachers the way that we want to for students. So kudos to you on that. And I also just wanted to mention, so, you know, Kelly would be a great resource if you're thinking about badging. We've also got a couple of other districts locally who are using badging. So Melville and Hancock Place as well are two additional resources that you could reach out to if you want to incorporate badging.
Awesome. And I had a teacher ask me, or a librarian asked me yesterday about just the amount of time it takes. And I'll be honest, if you spend part of your summer setting up your website and deciding what your badges look like, etc., actually running it and just looking through those Google forms and awarding badges through the year doesn't take a ton of time. And I love the fact that I get to see what sorts of activities are happening in the classroom too by looking at those evidence sheets. Our teachers do some amazing projects and I had no idea until I actually got to see their evidence sheets. So that's been awesome as well.
So Kelly, I'm realizing that this 20 minutes is going much faster than we thought it would. So I think you have time to share one more thing. I know you had two planned. So pick whichever one you most want to talk about.
Okay, I'll do the one that I think will probably take us less time here. So at a Mazel conference a couple of years ago, or it might have been METC, Andrea Head and Kelly Hawkwitz actually talked about doing Twitter Hangouts with authors, with gateway authors. And I love that idea. I just didn't think that Twitter was going to work well for my students. And I don't have, not all of our students, of course, are on Twitter either. So that was a hang up. So what we decided to do instead, we have sort of a study hall period that happens once a week for about 25 minutes. And I reached out to all of this year's Gateway nominated authors. And I said, would you be willing to do a Google Hangout with us during this 25-minute period? I'll invite any students that want to come to the library. They can ask questions or just learn from you. What do you think? And I had an amazing response. I think I had 9 out of the 15 authors actually responded. None of them wanted to charge me anything. They were happy to connect. And really, they were thanking me for reaching out and saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, which just kind of blew my mind. So we had, and I wish I could remember how many we actually did this year. I want to say at least 5 that happened during that study hall time. And these authors had some amazing stories about how their books came to be, what sort of inspired them to write. We found out that Carolyn Lee Adams, who wrote Ruthless on this year's list, which is a really dark book, is actually a stand-up comic during the rest of her life, which is kind of hilarious. But I had such an amazing response from our kids at the end of these sessions. They were just so grateful to have the chance to interact with these different authors and to just get to know them on that more personal level. So this is one of my favorite things that we did this year. And again, no cost other than having, of course, a good microphone that allowed our students to ask questions of the authors as well.
That's so cool. What an exciting project. So Kelly, welcome to the Spotlight Educators Club. JP and I are also members. So I hope that you're thinking about someone that you might nominate for METC 19 Spotlight Educator, because those nominations are open, I believe, until the end of the month, and you can find out more on the METC website.
Can I just say that every time someone, like I hear a Spotlight Educator talk, I'm like, I don't know why I'm in this group. You guys are all so awesome.
I feel the same way, JP. I really do. Thank you guys so much. And please, if anyone has questions, feel free to get in touch with me.
Wonderful. So let me preview what's coming up next. So I'm going to share my screen here. So up next is Trends in Librarianship with our Maslow Spring Conference co-chairs, Carolyn and Andrea. So if you're going to join us for that, you've got to jump out of this session and jump into the next Zoom link. Before we go, though, I want to give JP a chance to give a quick plug for his upcoming PD that librarians in St. Louis might be interested in.
Oh my gosh, awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. So I'm really excited to give a little preview. I've been working with some folks from around the area, and we're going to have what I believe to be the first EdCamp LMS next fall. I'm targeting a date in September, tentatively September 15th at Fox High School in Arnold. It's going to be a morning EdCamp focused around everything library media specialist. It's PD for you, by you. So kind of save the date, and as soon as I get that hammered out, we'll be sending out lots of communication.
Great. Thank you so much, JP, and thank you, Kelly, for sharing your knowledge with us. We're sorry you didn't get to hit everything you wanted to, but again, we'll have those links up to your presentation so people can check that out in more in depth.